Teenager arrested for illegal possession. A 16-year-old Solomon Ibiwoye has been arrested by the Lagos State Police Command for unlawful possession of a locally made pistol in the Ebute-Ero area of Lagos. The command's public relations officer, CSP Benjamin Hundeyin, confirmed the arrest in a statement posted on Sunday, praising the swift action of community members who discreetly alerted officers. Acting on the tip-off, policemen from the Ebute-Ero division conducted a search of Ibiwoye's residence, where they discovered a locally fabricated pistol and an unexpended cartridge. While investigations are currently ongoing, CSP Hundeyin emphasized the importance of community participation in tackling crime, adding that another dangerous weapon has been removed from the streets. Hundeyin urged residents to remain vigilant and continue to report suspicious activities, reiterating the message, see something, say something. This is a good one. But then, let's come to the core of... I want to get your thoughts on the report. But then, there's this question in my head when I read through this report is, why is a teenager armed? Where did a teenager get arms from? Let me hear your thoughts on this story.
Why is a teenager armed? He probably belongs to a gang, which is a common thing in the Ebute-Ero area of Lagos. If you understand the Ebute-Ero area, the Ebute-Ero is located in the Lagos Island axis, Ebute-Ero, Idumota, Jankara, and those axes. And these are areas that have been notorious for street fights, gang, area boys and stuff like that. So it may not be completely surprising for somebody like me who understands that terrain to see that that boy has a gun. However, what may be a little bit surprising is that the said arm was found in his house after searching. Now, what came to my mind is, where does he live? Who does he live with? If he is a straight Uchin, like, there is a common word in Lagos for some children, Omoita, that's a child that runs out of home. They are usually homeless as it were. You see them under the bridge and all that. If he was such a child, of course, he would have been given to full-blown criminality. But the word residence suggests that he probably have a formal place he lives. Right. I also know very well that at 16, you can't rent your own house. I mean, nobody wants to give you a house. So who was he living with? Is it a family house? Who are his guardians? How did they get to? Are they not aware he has I think there should be some questioning for whoever the guardians are. Now, questioning does not mean a guilty sentence against them, that they are guilty or something, but just to understand how they have even related with this guy. Is there, what kind of interaction do they have with him? What has been their responsibility to him? I mean, having a gun in my house, for example, not owned by me, could also pose a danger, not just to the street, but to people who live with him. If he has siblings at that age, what is his sense of judgment? And if my thinking is right, that he would have been given to criminality, that means he can put the gun at the slightest provocation, even with his own siblings or with his parents or something like that. So, parents and guardians should be careful and monitor their words very well. What they bring into the house, how they got it. I think that answers the question of your what there, or why does he have a gun, on how he got it.
Given that you already mentioned that the area is gang prone, do you think that many parents in that area, that reside in that area, do you think they wouldn't want their children to turn out better and would have put in the effort as regards, giving the values they think they have to give? Because oftentimes, when raising children, you can only give as much as you have. Right. Now, for some of them, they might have thought that they are giving as much value as they have to give. They have trained, they have taught, they have gone ahead to advise, trying to put these children on the right path. But then, there was a guest on my show a few weeks ago that said that children would eventually pick what they want to do. You only put in your best. At the end of the day, it might not turn out as planned. Do you think that is, possibly the case for the 16-year-old Ibiwoye?
In some cases, there's a level of truism in that children pick up what they want to. You see parents who have put in their effort to ensure that their children turn out good, but somehow things are not adding up. However, we cannot take this as an absolute truth.
Okay.
Least we run the risk of excusing parents or guidance for not doing what they should do. Just leave it more like an absolutism that they will pick what they want to do. I also believe in environmental determinism.
Okay.
That is, the environment determine who you eventually turn out to be.
Okay.
See, you may not appreciate that. You and I, we are partly what we are because of the environment we were raised. If I was raised in a different environment from the one I was raised, I probably would have turned out differently from whom I am today, either for good or for bad. So, in the first place, if I were to advise parents, if it is within your power, I said if now because I understand that there are times when, some things are not exactly as they should be. For example, if that place is a family house you live and you don't have the economic power to go rent a house, people may be stuck in their family house and all that. But, when you discover that one of the decisions to make when you plan to raise a family, if you ask me, should be to consider what kind of environment do I want to raise my family in, especially your children. Because the environment now, when we talk about children picking up what they want to pick, where do they pick up those things? It is the environment. When you understand that the environment is not just your house, it's the school they attend, it is probably the church or religious settings they attend, it is those they interact with the neighborhood, then you understand why you need to make a decision, or at least define what kind of environment you want to raise your child. If you determine the kind of environment you want to raise, and now what should inform the kind of environment you want to raise your child should also be, to a great extent, who you want that child to turn out to be. In a gang-prone area, especially if you're going to allow your children associate, man is a social animal anyway. Right. You can't, maybe it may be difficult to keep them off from the environment completely. Now, in a gang-prone area, if you want your children not to move into gangsterism, then it means you have to put in more effort if you must trace your children there. Some of us grew up in not so fantastic environment, and our parents did a whole lot to hedge us in. And with that, we came with some titles and all that. They say, you are not get inside, as your parents would always say, come on, get inside. Well, it doesn't always work for everybody. So that's why environment is okay. So I think parents should be conscious of choosing the environment they are. And then government also can also help, because, the environments are not really free as it were. You may choose a particular environment, but you don't have the wherewithal to afford it.
Right. And given the high rate of rent.
Absolutely, the high rate of rent, so many factors that determine it. So government can come in and also help rid society of crime and gangster to make these places more habitable. But first, the primary responsibility lies on the parents to decide what kind of environment you want to raise your children and what kind of instruction you give them. If you're raising your child in a particular environment that seems to be against the value you want to inculcate in that child, you're already at a disadvantage. So that means you have to realize this and put in more work to make that child understand why you don't want him or her to be like people in this environment. If you're from an environment where teenage pregnancy is on the high, and you have a girl child, you have to put in more effort to know who her friends are and why you don't want her to fall. This is not stigmatizing those people who have become victims of, teenage pregnancy or not, but you just want her to realize that this is not what I want you to be, and also make her understand why you don't want her to be. It is not like your demand. So if you're raising a child like in a place like Ebute-Ero, you have to be careful to let that child understand that I don't want you to turn out to be a member of a gang. If possibly, select friends for that child. One thing which I appreciate my parents even more now. One thing they did for us while growing up is that there is no single friend that came visiting me or that I could call my friend over a period of time that my parents didn't know his parents, you know. And there's another thing that helped us, that we had no friend that could come to visit us that will not be allowed to come in. So with that, if you're visiting us, you're in the house. So our interaction, you know, we are more or less under supervision, even though there was no I'm watching you. So that could also help understand who your friends are. But you see, where you have a situation where a friend comes to visit your child, the standing rule, written or unwritten, is that the moment your friend comes, the two of you should go outside. As children, you know, you are exposing them to interactions you don't monitor or understand what they are doing. So I think environment is very, very key in deciding how your child turns out. And that's why parents should be intentional, or guidance should be intentional in determining the environment they want to raise their child. In doing that, you may not have that environment. Then you realize that you're already at a disadvantage, which means more work needs to be done.